Regina, Mater misericordiae, vita dulcedo, estes nostra salve.
The Lord be with you. A reading from the Holy Gospel according to Matthew. Jesus told his disciples this parable. The kingdom of heaven is like a landowner who went out at dawn to hire laborers for his vineyard. After agreeing with them for the usual daily wage, he sent them into his vineyard. Going out around 9 o'clock, he saw others standing idle in the marketplace, and he said to them, "You too go into my vineyard, and I will give you what is just." So they went off, and he went out again around noon, and around 3 and did likewise. Going out around 5 o'clock, he found others standing around and said to them, "Why do you stand around here idle all day?" They answered, "Because no one has hired us." He said to them, "You too go into my vineyard." When it was evening, the owner of the vineyard sent to his foreman, "Summon the laborers and give them their pay, beginning with the last and ending with the first." Then those who had started about 5 o'clock came. Each received the usual daily wage. So when the first came, they thought that they would receive more, but each of them also got the usual wage. And on receiving it, they grumbled against the landowner, saying, "These last ones worked only 1 hour, and you have made them equal to us, who bore the day's burden and the heat." He said to one of them in reply, "My friends, I am not cheating you. Did you not agree with me for the usual daily wage? Take what is yours and go. What if I wish to give this last one the same as you? Or if I am not free to do as I wish with my own money? Are you envious because I am generous? Thus the last will be first, and the first will be last." The Gospel of the Lord.
Jesus is so funny. In this passage, he goes out of his way to slam the judgmental onlookers by describing the scene and paying the ones who are hired last the same amount. But not only does he do that, he rubs it in the face of the onlookers by making sure that the ones who got hired last are paid first, because after you get your money, you hurry up and leave. But he wanted everybody to see exactly what he was doing. He's not very subtle here. But it shows you the vastness of his mercy. That it's not a quid pro quo economy that we're normally accustomed to seeing in the business world, but it's an economy of great mercy. And you see the hint of that in the prophet Ezekiel, where the prophet reveals God's word, who is saying, "I will save my sheep. I myself will look after the sheep and tend them." It's hands-on and very personal. Ezekiel is getting us to look forward to the incarnation, when the great vineyard owner comes personally to take care of business personally. And now we come into the psalm where it becomes even more obvious, where this wage is given according to personal need, not necessarily the hours spent, but according to personal needs. "The Lord is my shepherd, nothing shall I want." It seems the people hired at the end, they're the ones that all the other employers rejected. And because they're habitually rejected in the marketplace, they're probably poor because no one's hiring them. And when you encounter people who are in this economic strata, they have great needs. They need more attention than everybody else. I'm always amazed by when somebody knocks at the door of the rectory and they need something. It's not just a little thing. It's usually need upon need upon need. I need money for gas. I have to take a trip across country. It's not just simple, give me a gas card. I need money for the gas, and the story gets complicated and more complicated, and you see need upon need, and then you realize that this isn't a person that I can deal with in 5 minutes. They're probably going to require 5 hours. No one is without having their need met, and this is the goal of the landowner. And so, you see him here in the gospel, this vineyard owner. He is personally involved to the point where he doesn't send a foreman out to hire people. He goes to hire people. He takes care of this himself. And that's what the incarnation is. It's God personally mixing into our business. The prophets have done their job. Now he comes personally. And not only is he personal, but he is persistent, isn't he? He goes out at dawn. He goes out at 9. He goes out at noon. He goes out at 3. He goes out at 5. This is 5 intrusions into the community to try to love someone. And I was also thinking this morning about in the liturgy of the hours, which the priests and the deacons have to pray and the laity are encouraged to pray, there are 5 stations in the liturgy of the hours. I don't think that was coincidental. You could almost say it's a time for our employer to meet us personally every day and make sure that the workers have their needs taken care of as well. And so this persistent outgoing of the vineyard owner continues to demonstrate this plethora of mercy that God is offering. And so now, are you envious, he says to the workers, are you envious because I'm generous? Are you envious because I'm generous? All who are hired are invited to share, according to need, in the vineyard owner's vision of generosity. Okay, so it's not a worldly vision of generosity. It's not a worldly vision of economics. It's God's vision of what it is to be generous. This is what's going on here. So he is generous, and now he wants all his employees, his disciples, to have a like mind in generosity. This is the real goal of the parable. Not an unjust distribution of wealth, but a generosity of wealth to a fault, but not a generosity in commerce, but a generosity in mercy. Are you envious because I'm generous? And so the object isn't a payment, but it's to be a recipient and then in turn a dispenser of God's mercy. And so what you see here is in this outward going and an effort to pull everyone in, even the one who has not been hired because they have been socially dissed by the other people seeking employees. This vineyard owner is, to steal a phrase from certain agendas, this vineyard owner is tolerant to the max, and he's totally non-judgmental. But he's none of these things in view of a political agenda, but he is all of these things with the view of being self-giving himself and asking all those who come into this symphony to be part of this what's the word I'm looking for? Part of this symphony of self-giving. And so he is indiscriminately generous for the sake of indiscriminately gathering and for the sake of indiscriminately soliciting a yes from anyone who would like to be involved in this enterprise of generous self-giving for the world. Are you interested in signing up as one of his employees?
Regina Celi, letare, alleluia.